I'm going to jump right in. We're going to give a bunch of brief reports on updates, and then we're going to do some business, and then we'll get to some more questions. So I think probably a lot of folks heard this week an announcement in the Kroger Albertsons merger, where Kroger announced that they're going to be selling a bunch of stores to a company called CNS. And the reason they were doing that is to satisfy the Federal Trade Commission. So the announcement, if you hadn't heard it recently, was that Kroger is proposing to divest or sell 413 stores. 66 of those stores are in California. So just so people are really super clear on this, the most important thing to remember is this sale is not happening right now. So the media made it seem like the sale was happening in advance of the merger, but it is not. It's part of the overall merger, and it will not happen, will not move forward until the FTC approves it. So that's the first most important thing to remember. And so just going back a little bit, as folks know, we're part of a coalition of locals, which represent over 100,000 Kroger and Albertson workers. Probably, we're the largest, all of the largest locals that represent Kroger and Albertsons members are in the coalition. And our coalition of locals has strongly opposed the merger from day one when it was announced. Everything that we have seen about it does not make it seem like it is going to be beneficial to our members. And for that reason, we've been opposing it since the beginning. And this announcement of the sale has not in any way changed our position. And we are still opposing the merger, and we're opposing this proposed plan. So this is a proposal that Kroger has come up with. They're proposing it in order to get approval of the FTC, but it appears that it is not sufficient. It's not going to be sufficient to satisfy the FTC. The FTC is the Federal Trade Commission, which is the agency of the federal government that has to approve mergers or has the ability to stop mergers if they're going to be anti-competitive, as well as the attorney generals of various states. And so we're also working with the California Attorney General and the attorney generals of many states where this merger will have an impact, have concerns about the merger, and are also going to be opposing it. We don't know the locations. So like, as I mentioned, the announcement of this sale, this proposed sale, which is not at this time going through, they mentioned 66 stores in California. They did not release the locations of those stores. So we cannot answer whether, your store is on the list. We don't know. And again, just as a reminder, this is likely not going to be the final. This is likely not a final proposal. It's likely that this particular proposal will not be approved. And we are in the process of gathering more information about the company CNS, which what we know so far is that they are mostly a warehousing company. They do operate some retail stores, but not a huge number. But we are gathering information about them, their history, their financial status, because the more we know about them, the better. And, we don't even know if they are really a legitimate buyer. For example, we want to make sure that if there is going to be a buyer for divested stores, it is not anything similar to what happened with the Albertsons Safeway merger, when a bunch of stores got sold to Hagen, and Hagen was not really a viable buyer, although we were told that they were. As we get more information, we will keep you updated. Also, we'll be having another meeting in the next few weeks for Kroger Albertsons members to give a more in-depth report about this and to give updates and answer your questions. So right now I can take just a couple of questions briefly because we got a lot of reports to get to, but I wanted to give folks an opportunity to ask a question. If you have one, raise your hand. We'll take a couple of questions, and then we are also going to be sharing in the chat a place where you can input questions. And when we have a meeting to discuss the merger more in depth in the next couple weeks, we will answer all the questions that come in on that link. So in the chat, we're sharing a link where you can put your questions, or you can ask a question now if you have one. So are there any questions? Because I'm on an iPad, I can't really
There's a
see.
question in the chat, Kathy, from
Okay.
Arden Davidian. Who have this warehousing company purchased in the past? So pretty much what other companies have they bought? CNS.
So what I know so far is they bought a company by the name of Piggly Wiggly, which I think does have some Union stores. And they bought another company that's on the East Coast called Union something, First Union, or I don't know, something. But and so they have worked with some UFCW locals in the past. They also have had many contracts with the Teamsters because they're mostly a warehousing company. So they have worked with unions. I can say what we have heard is that they have generally not been a very easy company to deal with. Frankly, neither of the companies that we deal with. Kroger itself has not been a very easy company to deal with lately, but we have not heard good things about them. So we are not in favor of this solution, and we are working with the FTC to hopefully make sure that a better solution is found. Is there any other question?
Yes, on the Q&A, there is a question asking, what will this do to two-year employees?
Like that, meaning employees with only 2 years?
2-year seniority.
I mean, it's hard to say. Well, first of all, this is just a proposal. We don't believe that this proposal is going to be sufficient to satisfy the Federal Trade Commission. So we don't think that this is going to be the proposal. So we don't know that this merger is going to be approved at all. We don't know that there's going to be any divestitures at all. So it's a little bit hard to answer that question because we don't know that this is going to happen. But let's say there was a merger that was approved either by the FTC or the courts that included divestitures. It would sort of depend a little bit on where the divestitures were, what district they were in. Ultimately, we would have to get a seniority list and see how many spots there would be for people to bump into. Our contract, we do have something Southern California has in their contract that is not available in a lot of other parts of the country, is we have contract language that allows members to, when your store is being sold, to stay with your existing company. But it is by seniority, and there will only be, a certain number of spots for people to go to. So a 2-year employee may not have sufficient seniority, but it will really depend on where your store is, what district, how many stores in that, particular district are being divested, which will determine how many spots there are and whether somebody with 2 years seniority has enough seniority to maintain a spot. That's a question that we really can't at this point answer. But I will say that, at some point in the future, if there's going to be divestitures, we will know in advance. But this particular proposal, from so far what we've seen of it, is most likely not going to get the approval of the FTC. So in the interest of time, I think we're going to move on to the next subject matter. I do see, I can't, because I'm on an iPad, not a computer, I can't really see everything but I do see that there's a lot going on in the chat. I can see there's like 30 chats or so. So I know people have a lot of questions. We will very soon be scheduling a meeting for Kroger, Albertsons, Vons, Food for Less, Ralph's members. We're sharing in the chat again the place where you can ask your questions, and we will answer all of your questions at a more in-depth meeting. This is, as folks know, a general membership meeting, so we're going to try to get to as many issues as we can, but we appreciate all the interest, and we will very soon be having another meeting, so we'll announce that shortly. The next item on the agenda is the recent reports of Rite Aid bankruptcy. So just quickly on this one, it's been reported in the media that Rite Aid is planning or preparing to file for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. It has not happened yet. So as with the other one, the media, as with the Kroger Albertsons merger thing, the media frequently makes it seem like things have already happened or about to happen where we're not really sure. So they little bit make it seem like things are a done deal that are not. So there are reports that Rite Aid has been preparing to file bankruptcy to stop some opioid lawsuits that have been filed against them for the way that they dispensed opioid medication over a considerable period of time. Those lawsuits, as well as a whole bunch of debt that Rite Aid has, $3.3 billion worth of debt. Rite Aid is trying to reorganize that. So the kind of bankruptcy that they are planning to file, or that is reported they're planning to file, is called a Chapter 11 bankruptcy, which is called a reorganization bankruptcy, as opposed to a Chapter 7 bankruptcy, which is a liquidation bankruptcy. So the difference between those is that in a reorganization bankruptcy, which is the one that Rite Aid is reportedly planning to file, the company is trying to reorganize its debt, trying to make some kind of deals with its creditors to wait, to take time to be able to pay off its debt, so that they can continue to operate, which means that they are not planning to close down completely. I do know there have been a lot of reports of store closures. We in Local 770 just got 3, I think, confirmed announcements of stores that are closing. That can happen. We've had stores close, whether there's a bankruptcy or not a bankruptcy. So I don't know that that indicates that the bankruptcy is a certainty, but just so folks know, like I said, a reorganization bankruptcy allows a business that has substantial debt, as Rite Aid does, to reorganize their debts and assets and to continue operating in an effort to return to financial solvency, or to return to financial health. During a Chapter 11 bankruptcy, a company cannot unilaterally, meaning on their own, modify or reject the collective bargaining agreement. They have to continue to operate under all the terms of the agreement, including all the benefits, the grievance procedure, seniority, everything else in the contract, even when it files for bankruptcy. So generally in a Chapter 11 bankruptcy, as I said, a company would continue to operate as usual. So that's basically all the information about that right now. If they do file a bankruptcy, we are already preparing to try to get on the creditor committee in a bankruptcy. All the creditors, the largest creditors, get to have a place on the committee that oversees the bankruptcy. The UFCW as a whole is making a petition is preparing to make a petition in the event a bankruptcy is filed, to get on that creditor committee to be part of the part of the group that oversees the bankruptcy. We can take a couple questions about the potential for a Rite Aid bankruptcy, if there are any. And otherwise, I'm going to turn it over. Does anybody?
Question in the chat on Rite Aid. What 3 stores at Rite Aid have you heard are closing?
So there's one in Glendale. I think there's one was there one in Carpinteria?
Correct.
And one in Ventura?
Right. Those
are the 3. Carpinteria, Ventura, and Glendale. And then Dina put Glendale 6756. And I think we're going to hear from Joyce in a bit. I think she knows the numbers of the other ones when we get to the drug campaign. Okay, so I am going to now turn the gavel, I guess, over to Matt Plotkin, who is going to share some organizing updates.
Hey everyone, Matt Plotkin here from the Spur team to give a recap. Currently, there are 5 Spurs engaged in organizing members. Ashley, Jose, and Jennifer are on the Food for Less contract campaign, and Hector and myself are on the CVS Rite Aid drug retail contract campaign. The team is talking to members, having one-on-one conversations to hear your story, and supporting leadership teams to identify issues in the store you and your coworkers can take action on now. Spurs are working with members early in the campaign to build the power necessary to win great contracts. Recently, the team received a 3-day organizing training from the California Labor Federation and then went into the field with United Domestic Worker Union staff to house visit domestic workers and get them to join the union. It was awesome that we got to immediately apply our training, and it was very humbling to organize these workers. The in-home healthcare workers that UDW represents are often taking care of someone they love. And though some domestic work is paid in the state of California, there is a lot of improvement needed that organizing and collective action can help solve. Personally, I got 2 domestic workers to sign union cards. I had never done that before, and it was one of the most rewarding and one of the greatest experiences of my Spur experience yet. This organizing training was centered around best practices to build high member participation, total member power, and how to use your story to connect with others and move them. The Spur team is applying this to the Food for Less campaign, where they are visiting more stores, talking to more members, listening to more stories, and having deeper conversations to help build that high participation and best membership leadership structure possible. Lastly, we have been on the picket line supporting the Writers Guild, SAG-AFTRA, and hotel workers at Unite Here 11. That's it for the Spur report. I'm going to pass it on to Ed for the Cannabis report.
All right. Thanks, Matt. Hey, everybody. My name's Ed Gutierrez. I'm Local 770's Cannabis Division Coordinator. Very happy to be here tonight to report on some of the work that our division has been busy with. First, I am pleased to announce that on Friday last week, members at 3 dispensaries operated by American Enterprises voted overwhelmingly to ratify a new contract. The new CBA covers about 30 retail and cultivation workers, and it includes wage increases and the establishment of lead pay, increases in employer health insurance contributions, union spur leave language, and a new benefit that will reimburse members for contributions into their personal retirement plans, among other improvements. Excited to have another cannabis contract where we're really working to move a standard around retirement for our members. So that's very exciting. I'm also happy to report that statewide negotiations for a first collective bargaining agreement at ease have begun. That's first session took place a couple of weeks ago. The bargaining team is made up of worker representatives from all 12 of the ease delivery depots that are unionized across the state, and includes union representatives from locals 5, 135, 324, and 770. We made a handful of non-economic proposals at that first session, and are now preparing for our next bargaining meeting, which is going to take place on September 26th, where we expect to get into some real discussions about economics. And so that's very exciting to be working alongside all of these other UFCW locals across the state to be bargaining a big master agreement, which will be very much a historic agreement for our union. And finally, I just want to give a quick update on negotiations with Catalyst, who are one of our largest union employers, where members have been bargaining for a successor agreement for some time. Last week, we were able to reach a tentative agreement with the company And the agreement is now being voted on at Catalyst shops all across the state. For Local 770, the agreement covers 5 shops, and the TA comes after a relatively challenging bargain with the company. And so pleased to report on the TA. I also just want to give a quick shout out to the Cannabis team, including our union rep, Reggie Edwards, as well as Cannabis Spur Walker Davidson, who comes out of the Culver City Sweet Flower Shop, where their work in engaging Catalyst members was critical in reaching an 86% turnout for the contract vote for our shops, which is pretty spectacular. And so that's the report from the cannabis world for this month. I now want to turn it over to Jessica Crowley, who's going to give our political report. Thank you.
Thank you, Ed. Good evening, brothers and sisters. My name is Jessie Crowley, and I'm a pharmacist at Pavilions 2229 in Hollywood. Tonight, I'm honored to present our quarterly political and legislative report summarizing our recent activities and key priorities. Throughout the summer, we've actively engaged with state legislators, their staff, and vital allies during their summer recess. Our primary objectives have been to advocate for our legislative priorities, aiming to clarify our support for positive legislation and opposition to bills that could affect both UFCW members and non-union workers statewide. Let's dive into some essential legislative updates and deadlines. September 14th is the last day to pass all bills. October 14th is the last day for the governor to either veto or sign bills. Now let's explore some of the bills we're sponsoring. SB 553, our workplace violence prevention from Senator Cortez. This bill mandates that employers maintain workplace violence prevention plans, record incidents in a log, and provide training. It requires input and involvement from workers and their union in the development and implementation of the plan and training. The bill aims to address the increasing incidence of workplace violence and better prepare workers to handle such situations. This bill just passed legislature today and is now on the Governor Newsom's desk, so we're just waiting for him to sign off on it. AB 647 is Grocery Workers Protection Act from Holden. This bill seeks to strengthen California's statewide grocery worker retention law by providing recall and rehiring rights for grocery workers who were laid off due to store closures. It also extends protections to warehouse workers. The bill aims to ensure that skilled and trained workers can continue to provide safe food and pharmaceutical knowledge to communities. SB 725, Safety Net for Grocery Workers Act, Smallwood Cuevas. SB 725 aims to create a safety net for essential workers by requiring grocery stores that conduct layoffs due to mergers or acquisitions to provide workers with at least 1 week of displaced grocery worker allowance for every year of service. The bill intends to provide economic stability to workers during tumultuous times and reduce financial burden caused by layoffs. SB 616, Paid Sick Days Increase, Gonzalez. This bill seeks to increase the number of paid sick leave days from 3 to 5 for employees without requiring a doctor's note. The bill aims to address the insufficient leave mandated by the state, allowing workers to take care of their health and their families without fear of losing their jobs or facing disciplinary action. AB 1286, Pharmacy Patient Safety Act, California Board of Pharmacy. This bill grants pharmacists autonomy over unsafe working conditions and staffing levels, ensuring minimum staffing requirements and requiring mandatory anonymous reporting of medication errors. The bill aims to address medication errors caused by understaffed and unsafe pharmacies and prioritize patient safety. SB 777, Allen, Plastic Bag Fee Transparency. This bill addresses regulations on single-use carry-out bags and the sale of reusable or recycled paper bags in California. Stores can provide single-use bags and must sell reusable or recycled bags for at least 10 cents. Collected funds are used for compliance, provision of bags, and promoted reusable bag usage. The bill proposes using these funds for recycling opportunities and mandates annual compliance reporting by stores. Chains can report aggregated data, and certain store representatives can review these reports. SB 799, Portantino, Unemployment Benefits for Striking Workers. This bill would require unemployment benefits for workers who are on strike after 2 weeks and an additional 1 week waiting period. These bills reflect UFCW Local 770's commitment to safeguarding workers' rights and enhancing working conditions across industries. Our focus remains on job retention, economic stability, workplace safety, and healthcare access for all workers. We believe that passing these bills will positively impact workers, their communities, and public health. Thank you all for your attention tonight. I'm going to pass it over to Eric Ramos for Packing House.
Thank you, Jess, and good evening, everyone. Like Kathy said, I'm Eric Ramos. I am the lead for the Packing House division. A couple of my reports for tonight will be basically that in one of my packing plants called Palisades Ranch, as of last month, we were able to settle a long-going vacation situation that workers were going through in that plant for some years. They were basically making them wait an extra year after they hit their milestone to take their either 2-week vacation, 3-week vacation, and 4th-week vacation. So as of last month, workers were made whole. Anybody that hit their milestones going back to 2019 was paid retroactive pay, summing up to $13,000. And the most important thing is now, as soon as they hit their milestone, they're going to be able to take that 2nd, 3rd, and 4th week vacation instead of making them wait a year like they used to do in the past. So that was a good victory that we had in Palisades Ranch. Also, in that same company, right now we're facing another issue with the poultry department. As of this Monday, we did a delegation that I'm gonna pass it along to Jose Michel to elaborate a little bit more on how that went. Jose?
Good evening. My name is Jose Michel. This is my report on the packing house. On Monday, September the 8th, a group of 38 members in the poultry department at Palisades Ranch delegated management in the efforts to demand the company establish a cutter classification in their department. These members cut, trim, and use knives 100% of the time and are not compensated for it, as they are classified as packers and utility. Members asked for dates by Friday the 15th to begin discussion on this issue. And this is my report. Back to Eric.
Thanks, Jose. So as Jose mentioned, there was out of 52 workers in that department, 38 actually use knives all day long, right? And unfortunately, these members are classified as packers and utility workers. So they're actually demanding to be classified as actual cutters and trimmers of the work that they perform daily. So we asked for the company to give us dates by this Friday so that we could start negotiating or to have talks to make this new classification true for these members. And lastly, I'll talk a little bit more about Farmer John. Even though Farmer John closed their doors as of June of this year, many workers were left basically on limbo because even though they gave retention bonus / severance package, there was about 30 workers that because they were on leave of absence due to workers' compensation or personal injuries, were left out of that. So we immediately filed a grievance so that we could tell the company that it's not their fault that they were on workers' comps or other personal injuries, that they were out when the plant closed. So they were basically not giving them because there was a section in the contract that says that anybody that was gone for more than 12 months or inactive was considered pretty much out of the seniority, right? So we filed a grievance. We were going to take it to arbitration. And as of last week, the company came back to us saying that they're going to extend it for those that instead of 12 months, 24 months, basically allowing 19 workers to fit in that severance package. So they range from, workers that were there for 15 years, 20 years to 2 years, right? So that amount equates to over $89,000 that our members could potentially get if we go through with this settlement deal. It looks like a good deal. So hopefully it goes through. So yeah, that's pretty much my report. And then I'll pass it along to Joyce Robinson to give the drug campaign report. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Joyce Robertson from Rite Aid. So I want to report back on our leaders meeting that we just recently had. It's our second of its kind. We heard a report back from the contract enforcement team, and we've decided on an attack campaign of safety in the workplace, which is timely because of SB 553, which we just heard from Jessica's report that has already been passed, but is at the governor's table. So that's a good thing. We stress the importance of high participation in our among our members, Rite Aid and CVS actually, because our contracts are up about the same time. So we stressed we're going to go with the campaign theme of safety. Previously, before the bill had passed, store leaders and stewards were getting their members and community people and family to sign the petition. So looks like we're in a good position for that now. But we'll still be having more meetings, and I guess we will take a look at how we can use this bill in our campaign fight. One interesting thing that I found out from one of our loss prevention agents was that I guess Rite Aid is already, I think they kind of had an inkling that this was probably going to pass, and their regional LPs have already started a training program to restart their apprehensions. So they're in the process of training, and he was telling me that when it trickles down to them, they will also be getting training, and they're going to be issued vests, not safety vests, but what is the word I'm looking for? The
Bulletproof? Bulletproof?
Yes. The safety, not safety vests, but they're not bulletproof, but like if somebody were to try to stab them or probably, shoot them, they'd be protected. But I thought that was pretty interesting to know. And then I think you wanted to know the store numbers of the Carpinteria store is 5776. And then the Ventura store that's supposed to close is 5772. So.
And is that the store that you work in?
No, I'm 5782. I'm in Port Hueneme.
Okay.
Yeah. And I talked to some of the girls at the Carpinteria store. They already have stores to go to. And 5772, they actually haven't announced that they were closing to them, because I talked to some of my friends over there, and they suspect it because their loads are not, their stores emptying out. So they suspect that they're going to close, but it seems like a lot. I think Carpinteria is a small crew, so I think they pretty much have everywhere where they're going. So, but
okay.
Yeah, that's
okay.
it for my report.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, Joyce.
You're welcome.
So next we're going to go to the actual business of the meeting. The things that we have to do at a quarterly meeting, which are we have to approve minutes. We have to have the trustees report, or the financial report, and the investment transactions, which Danny is going to do. But first, I'm just going to explain the rules of how we're going to be voting on Zoom. This is the part where we vote. So we're going to be voting with poll questions. And before we vote, we will have a motion on each of these things. And the motion, in order to make a motion, you can raise your hand. So there should be a place where you can, raise your hand. So the first one is the minutes. So it's the approval of the minutes of the last general membership meeting, which was the meeting of June 13th. And as has been the practice, we generally have a motion to waive the reading of the minutes and to approve them and the actions therein. So I want to ask if there's anybody that would like to make that motion.
There's a motion made by Darren Borowski.
Okay, and is there a second? Not sure if there are hands up. I can't see from my thing. I need better.
Leilani has her hand up to second. Rachel does too.
Okay, good. Okay, so there's a second. And then, so we're going to put up the poll question for the voting. So you can vote yes to approve the minutes for June 13th or no. And the minutes, we always record these meetings just so people know. These meetings are always recorded and then they're put on the website. So rather than actually having written minutes, we actually have a recording that we maintain. And if anybody wants to go back and see what was said at a prior meeting, so we're trying to be very transparent in that way that you can go back, you can see the meetings, you can see what we said previously. So vote yes to approve the minutes. No, not to. We're getting a lot of yes votes. And we'll give people just a few more seconds to vote. By the way, just while people are voting, we have had, I think, 140 people on this meeting. When we started, we were just over 100. We've gone up, so it's a pretty good participation. I think Zoom has turned out to be not as much, quite as much participation as we get on the Stones phone call, but I think it's a bit more interactive when we can see each other than the phone call one. Okay, so we closed the vote. We're sharing the results so people can see. 61 people voted, 60 voted yes, and 1 voted no. So the next thing is going to be the trustees report. I'm going to turn it over to Danny.
Thank you, Kathy. Good evening, everyone. So for the trustees report from January 1st of 2023 through April 30th of 2023, beginning balance as of January 1st is 23,659,627. Revenue and expense from operations, subtotal for revenue 7,448,704. Expense, cash disbursements, subtotal expenses 7,673,152. Reimbursement due from the trust funds 448,610. Income 224,162 for ending balance as of April 30th of 2023 is 23,883,789. Cash activities, cash balance as of January 1st, 2,397,025. Cash receipts, 13,670,032. For cash disbursements, 13,837,841. Net cash in 167,809 for cash balance as of April 30th, 2023, 2,229,216. And balance sheet assets, total assets 27,363,647. Liabilities of 3,479,858. Fund balance as of April 30th, 2023 is 23,883,789. You want to call the motion, Kat?
Okay, so that was the financial report, the trustees report for April 2023. Is there a motion to approve?
Yeah, Darlene, making the motion. Sorry.
Okay, is there a second?
I see Mary Miller.
Okay. So it's been moved and seconded. We'll put up the poll for folks to vote on the approval of the trustees report. Again, a yes vote would be to approve the trustees report. And no vote would be not to approve the trustees report. So we'll give people a minute or so to vote, or let's say 1 minute. Or we'll give probably not even quite a minute. We'll give people 10 more seconds to vote. Still see some votes coming in. So again, yes, to approve the trustees report. Okay, looks like, oh, there's a few more votes coming in. Okay, it looks like everybody who's wants to vote has voted. We'll share the results. It was unanimous, 60 out of 60 approved the report. None voted no. So we'll go on to the next order of business, which is the investment transactions for May 2023. Danny?
As Kathy said, investment transactions, fair market value as of May 31st, 2023, and other investments is 16,083,010. Interest and dividends income total 29,800. Sales and principal pay downs total 404,645. Purchase totals 447,830. Want to call the motion?
Yes. Is there a motion to approve the investment transactions for May 2023?
I see Darlene's hand up.
Okay, Darlene made the motion, and is there a second?
Yeah, Erica Benson.
Okay, seconded by Erica Benson. Let's put up the poll. All those in favor of approving the investment transaction report, and vote yes. Oh, they're really rolling in quickly this time. People are getting good at this. So we'll give you about 15 more seconds. I hopefully, and I know this is, I think, the first general membership meeting, just while we're waiting for people to vote, first general membership meeting that we've done on Zoom rather than Stone's phone since we've moved to this manner of having meetings during COVID. And so I hope it's working out good for folks. Okay, it looks like everyone who wanted to vote has voted. 61 people voted. 60 voted yes, and 1 voted no. So it is approved. And finally, Danny, the membership report for August.
Yes, for the month of August, membership report in our food division, 19,029 members. That's minus 93. In our drug division, 4,678. That's minus 6. General sales 2. That's a minus 2. Professional division 1,525. That's we're down 1. Barber and beauty break even. Meat cutter 1,621. We're down 7. Meat packers 472. That's minus 2. Our cannabis 434. That's a plus 9. Total membership of 27,776. And we currently have 1,356 members on withdrawal due to LOA.
Okay, that one doesn't require a motion. That one's just for everyone's information where we are on the membership. So that's the end of the business portion. We are going to move on to member questions and comments or things that members want to say and remarks for the good and welfare. First, I'm going to call on Reggie Edwards to give a report and some announcements from our Minority Coalition constituency group. So I think we have to bring him on to the panel. Does Reggie need to raise his hand or something?
I think you're still muted, Reggie.
Can you hear me?
Now we can. Yeah. Hey, Reggie.
Hi, everyone. I'm Reggie Edwards, Vice President of the Minority Coalition and proud cannabis representative. I'm just coming on with an announcement from the Minority Coalition. We are holding a health fair for all members on Thursday, September the 21st. We're going to have information and screenings for things like diabetes, blood pressure, women's health, dental health, cholesterol. There's potentially going to be a very nice charcuterie board. We will have Will, our cannabis expert, on hand to answer any cannabis related questions you may have. It's going to be an awesome time. Please, there's going to be a link shared in the chat. Please register, come out, get yourself checked. It's very important. I've taken up too much of your time. Everybody have a nice evening.
Not really. I have a question. Now, I heard a rumor, let me know if this is true, that actually our political reporter and expert, Jessie Crowley, who's also on the pharmacy board and is our pharmacy expert, she gave our political report tonight. I heard she may be giving a yoga class. Is that still happening?
And Kathy, I didn't want to spread anybody's business, but since you brought it up, yes, she will. Jess, would you like to?
That's a highlight. That's the highlight of the health fair for me. So I didn't want that one. People are going to come out for that.
There will be a yoga class for everyone.
We also have another one of our pharmacists, union pharmacists, who was on our bargaining committee with Jessie, also who's going to be doing vaccines. I'm not sure about the new COVID vaccine. I don't think it's going to be out in time, but flu vaccines, I think he's going to be doing it. Maybe RSV, I'm not sure.
Yes, the link has been shared in the chat. There's also a phone number if you'd rather, 213-201-7617. Please, everybody, come out and get yourself checked and just have a general good time with the rest of your union brothers and sisters. We look forward to seeing you all.
I'm super excited about that. So we will open it up now for member questions and comments.
Rachel had one in the chat, Rachel Fournier. If they go to the health fair, will they and get the screening, will it be applied to their HRA funds if they're in the PPO?
That is a great question.
That is a great
Samantha
question.
says yes.
The answer is yes.
So for those of you, just to give a little bit of a recap of why Rachel is asking that question, if you are in the PPO, which most folks actually are in the PPO, because you have, in order, if you were hired after 2004, you can't get out of the PPO until you've worked for about 6 years. So a lot of our newest members are in the PPO, and some other members too. I'm in the PPO, but in the PPO, there is a deductible, but you can have most of your deductible waived by participating in some healthy activities. So some of those are screenings, vaccinations, even signing up for a yoga class can be used to get credit for your deductible. So it's important, and those who come to the health fair can probably get a few of those credits right there. So you can make like $300, maybe $450 by just coming to the health fair. So that's great.
And just in case anyone can't read the chat, if you are a PPO member and you're interested in getting that additional funds, please make sure to select biometric screening on the RSVP form.
Thanks, Jessie. Any other questions or comments? Can anybody see if there are any?
That was the Q&A, Kathy. Is CNS publicly traded? Can we invest in it before it buys our jobs?
So they are not publicly traded. They are a private company, but they're not private equity. So I am not a financial expert. I don't know. Maybe I should let Matt O'Malley answer this question, because he knows a lot more about this stuff than me.
Well, you hit the nail on the head. Yeah, they're a privately held grocery holding company that has a handful of different banners in a few different states, and this is a very big play for them. I think that it would at least, if not more than, double the size of the company's footprint in terms of the number of stores it has.
And so can you explain just a little bit, what's the difference between private equity, which is what Comvest and Hagen was, and what just a privately held company is?
Sure. I mean, a private equity company is, they basically pool together investor money to purchase companies, and then will change the way that they're managed, change the way that they're financed. Oftentimes they'll just load them up with debt. They don't actually have a history necessarily of operating companies in the industry where they buy them. So they're sort of agnostic. They might buy a grocery company, they might buy an auto company, they might buy a steel company. They're just looking to make money. In the case of C&S, they actually own and operate grocery stores, right? And much sort of in the way that, like, Kroger grew by acquiring brands regionally, as did Albertsons over the course of pretty much a century. That's how C&S is trying to build its business. I believe it's been in business for over 100 years.
Thanks, Matt.
There's one more question on Kathy. If they close my Rite Aid store, will I be forced to float as a pharmacist, or can I just secure a home store near my current location? I have over 25 years of seniority. Thanks.
That is a good question, that I would want to look at the contract about. I do know we have some protections for folks with seniority in the contract, but I'm not sure if on a store closure. That's a good question. We should take the person's, I don't want to give a wrong answer. It's something I would want to check before, unless there's someone else who is more certain than me. I would want to look it up before I gave you an answer. So we can take name and number and get back to you. I think would be best on that one. But it's a good question.
It looks like we have another question from Brian Stamp at CVS 9624 in Hollywood. Go ahead and ask your question, Brian.
Hi, yes, thank you. So I have been noticing that at my particular store, which is the Cahuenga Yucca one in Hollywood, that we've been getting many reduced hours. I was personally always set to work around 30 hours, and that got cut down to the 20s and then the teens. And I've only been working for about a day or two each week. I've connected to my union. I have reached out to the store manager, Steve, and they both assure me that the hours are going to go back to some sort of conventionality next month or toward the end of this month. And I'm just wanting to make sure that that's true, or if they're just proverbially blowing smoke.
Well, I can't say what they're going to do in the future, but there are contract provisions. I don't know what your seniority is. There are contract provisions about minimum guarantees and that you're entitled to. And so if they haven't scheduled you those minimum guarantees in a particular week, you're entitled to be able to be paid the minimum. Like if they only schedule you 12 hours and you're entitled to 24 hours, they would have to pay you those other 12 hours, even though you didn't work. So I don't know.
I did talk to them about that.
Okay. So, so that's what the contract provides. I can't say for sure if they're actually, going to be scheduling more hours in the near future. I mean, that they say they are, but, I don't know that they actually are.
Corporate always says that, we're going to have more hours in the future. We swear it'll come. It's like, no, they want us out of there. They want the machines. We know this. But I'm always just trying to make sure that everything is kosher so that we, the workers, get our just rights.
Yeah. And so that's also, I agree with you. And that's my concern. So it's, knowing the contract. And I will say on the drug leaders calls that we have been having, that Joyce was talking about, the issues that have been brought up, which are the things that folks are wanting to fight about and begin to organize around, even in advance of the contract expiring next year, where safety was the biggest issue, as Joyce mentioned.
Oh, yeah.
But the other issues were hours, staffing, And I
Oh,
feel
yeah,
like,
staffing is a major issue. Like regularly, we've been understaffed by a person or two each shift just because they'll call out for whatever reason, or there's a family emergency, and then they'll call us in on days off, or they'll ask us to do doubles or stay longer or come in early. It's ludicrous. I've sent text messages to the manager, and I've texted the union rep, and even my fellow colleagues come up to me saying, "Hey, man, have you noticed that they're really cutting our hours?" And I go, "Yep, they're cutting mine." I reached out to the union. We've all been reaching out to the store manager, and it's just a matter of corporate wants to cut the hours just because they want to save money. Well, that's not how you treat your workers.
yeah, and it doesn't really ultimately save them money, because if everybody
Nope.
is enforcing the contract, they're getting their minimum hours anyway, they're just not working it. I don't know, Brian, if you have you joined any of our leader calls that we've been having, any of the calls that we've been
Whenever
having?
I'm available, usually since they occur at 7 in the evening, I'm at work, and so I'm not able to attend the calls. But like today, I'm off, so I made it a point to attend the call.
Okay, great. We're glad you're here. And
Sure.
when we do have the drug leader calls, we usually have one in the morning and one in the evening. So,
I'm more of an evening person.
okay, well, anyway, we'll make sure that you know about them. And if you want to get more involved in the campaign, you're certainly welcome to get involved with the folks who are, fighting to make some changes.
Oh, of course.
Okay, great. And are there any other questions or comments? We're just a little past, we're just a little past 10. So usually these meetings run about an hour. So it looks like there maybe aren't any other questions. And I see Dina has called for an adjournment. So looks like that we are going to adjourn. I think, well, it looks like Rachel had one more question. She asked if I'm in LA. I'm actually not in LA right now. I'm in New Orleans, which I didn't let people know before, but some of us are at a international training and meeting. So some of us are in New Orleans. So that's why I said 10 o'clock, because for you guys, it's 8 o'clock. But for me, it's 10 o'clock. So I'm pretty tired. So I think it sounds like we're going to adjourn. There's been a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, click leave. Good night, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Night.